concerned civil society organizations, and patriotic citizens gathered here today not as critics, but as partners in progress and supporter of the renewed hope administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and its laudable reforms. Nevertheless, we find it very imperative at this critical juncture to draw the attention of national and international leaders to the sensitive matter of monumental financial misappropriation under the leadership of the now dismissed GCEO of the NNPC, Mr. Mele Kyari. However, our patriotism demands that we speak truth to power, particularly in a case like this, where the sacred trust of public accountability is highly at stake. We strongly believe that to set the record straight and allow the new leadership of NNPC operate fully on a transparent ground, the heroic of decisive action taken by Mr. President to clean the NNPC must be followed by a comprehensive investigation into financial malfeasance that has plagued the corporation in the past 5 years. Apparently, it now well understood that Kyari dismissal is not only timely, but long overdue, since the institution has been operating like an unaccountable and opaque cabal. Nigerians' outrage and the demand for answers cannot be overemphasized, especially concerning the reckless ceremonial spending of $1.5 billion on the Port Harcourt Refinery 1 and 2, an amount undoubtedly believed to be an equivalent to several African countries' national annual budgets. Firstly, we would like to draw our attention to the previous mentioned staggering sum of $1.5 billion earmarked for the rehabilitation of the Nigerian refinery. Indeed, by Nigerians, we made to believe that these funds allocated to Buhari-led administration in 2021 was meant for a comprehensive rehabilitation. However, shockingly, and to the chagrin of the public, not only was these funds entirely expended on just one refinery, but the said refinery turned out to be non-functional, failing to meet the last functional or industrial standard that was expected of such an investment. Indeed, such physical mismanagement would have been the subject of a rigorous criminal investigation involving every national and international parties involved in the debacle. However, our President, Tinubu-led administration, is amplifying the silenced voices of Nigerians, and these voices are rightfully demanding answers with questions like, where did these huge funds disappear to? Why was the initial plan of rehabilitating 2 refineries abandoned without justification? Who are these responsible for this national capture of our resources? Moreover, this treacherous act defies logic and prudence. That such colossal sum was dissipated with no concrete outcome and accountability says a lot about the Kyari-led administration. Even after a first report of a mechanical completion, the Port Harcourt refinery is yet to deliver refined products to Nigerians and Nigerians. The Port Harcourt refinery is yet to deliver refined products to Nigerians. We are truly asking on behalf of Nigerians, what was the essence of the prodigious spending? Where are the contractors? Can we see the audit trails? Finally, what was the role of Kyari's NNPC leadership in enabling or facilitating this dereliction of duty against the nation? Perhaps more alarming in all these shenanigans is the yet unresolved scandal that surrounded the disappearance, or we say, the misallocation of over 89 million barrels of crude oil to non-state actors. While many see this as merely a case of mismanagement, what we are seeing is an enormous economic sabotage of the highest order. It is an undebatable fact that Nigerians deserve to know who authorized such transfers, who are the beneficiaries, and why no arrest has been made to date. The absence of accountability concerning this monumental loss is a shame to the statue of leadership and a great threat to economic sovereignty of Nigeria. Furthermore, while Nigerians were still denting to the aforementioned wounds, and suspicious arrangement between the NNPC and Matrix Oil has become another virus needing urgent attention. This is another partnership which its details remain elusive to public. Evidently, more questions also abound in regards to the circulated claim that about $400 million was invested by some Matrix Oil in the ongoing refinery rehabilitation. Indeed, this also presents many questions and needs urgent answers. Under what financial framework did they contribute this amount? What are the terms of repayment or equity ownership, if any? Nigerians are asking, did this partnership follow the provision of the Procurement Act? What was the due process that preceded this alliance? What has Nigeria benefited from this alliance? And most importantly, what are these losses we have incurred? However, upon consideration of the aforementioned questions, it is obvious that the lack of transparency here is nothing short of deliberate obfuscation to mask a syndicate of financial irregularities. In our view, we believe that Matrix Oil may have been used as a vehicle to siphon public funds in disguise of offering technical services and partnerships. Undoubtedly, the gross mismanagement of funds in oil and gas sector over the past 5 years have stifled Nigerians' economic and infrastructural development, impoverished citizens who have been making their tax contributions, and sabotage sustainability, with millions of Nigerians currently experiencing multidimensional poverty. Every budgeted and spent dollar largely counts. However, the existence of a continued silence on the financial atrocities committed under Kyari's leadership has been a bad signal to the international community that Nigeria tolerates economic malfeasance. It is a placard example of what erodes investors' confidence and invites speculative capital rather than stable foreign direct investment, FDI. This NNPC revelation revealed an elite syndicate conspiracy against the citizens of the great country. It is betrayal of the Nigerian dream, and its economic hemorrhage must stop. In addition to the many atrocious adventures of Kyari's leadership, the suspicion of the Naira for crude policy under his tenure was monumental and a disservice and disability to our local economy. Such a policy, if properly implemented and passed, would have insulated Nigeria from dangerous and harsh-set effects of foreign exchange volatility, provided petroleum products to local industries at subsidized cost, and strengthened the Naira against the dollar. Unfortunately, the selfish, egomanic Kyari was more concerned about his ill gains. We therefore urge Engineer Ojulari to immediately reinstate the policy with strict anti-corruption oversight mechanisms. On this note, we strongly call for an immediate constitution of a special commission of inquiry to thoroughly investigate the full financial activities of NNPC that was carried out over the past 5 years under the leadership of Mele Kyari. This commission must be empowered to subpoena documents, summon key stakeholders involved under this duration, and make binding recommendations. We strongly believe that a proper investigation, followed by judicial action, will send a strong message that Nigeria is ready to do business within the parameters of accountability. We are confident that such an investigation will definitely serve as a deterrent to future intending corrupt leaders, and also a catalyst to help cleanse the rot embedded in the operations of our nation's public assets. We, the Situation Room of Transparency and Accountability, therefore make a demand for a comprehensive audit and prosecution as follows: a forensic audit of all NNPC financial transactions carried out in the last 5 years, open publication of the list of beneficiaries involved in the 80 million barrel allegedly given to non-state actors, a breakdown with a full report on how $1.5 billion was spent on the Port Harcourt refinery, an interrogation followed by possible prosecution of Mele Kyari, dismissed board members and other NNPC executives found culpable. Then the last, a legislative oversight, hearing to make sure that National Assembly maintains the highest transparency requirement for the newly appointed NNPC board. However, it must be duly noted that this call isn't one that is driven by vendetta or vengeance, but rather it is born in patriotic desire to see Nigerians become a developed and prosperous nation. that make good use of its natural resources through committed, transparent, and accountable leaders. The NNPC, as custodian of our common patrimony, must never be left to continue operating like an individual property, which is impervious of public scrutiny. Fellow Nigerians, the time for silence is over. We cannot be tired of watching our commonwealth being pillaged by a select few. President Tinubu's administration has truly shown a commitment to reforming Nigeria into greatness, and we stand firmly in support of his vision and agenda. Nonetheless, a reform without accountability is merely cosmetic. The new herdsman, Engineer Bashir Bayo Ojulari, must be forewarned. The era of impunity is over. Nigerians will not tolerate another phase of misappropriation and concealment. We appeal to the media to amplify this call and maintain pressure on the authorities. Likewise, we urge every other stakeholders and group to lend their voices on this cause of a better Nigeria. Let's understand that it is only through a collective vigilance that the heart of our nation can be preserved from kleptomanic interest. If otherwise, our collective silence will embolden the corrupt actors to continue their evil plundering of our nation's resources. The situation at the NNPC is sympathetic of a deeper malaise that must be uprooted if Nigeria is to fulfill its economic potentials. The NNPC 1.5 billion refinery debacle is not just a case of wasted funds, it is a national emergency that demands immediate and thorough redress. In conclusion, we urge the EFCC and the Financial Crime Commission in our national history that such flagrant impunity will never be tolerated, and those responsible must face the full wrath of the law. Thank you all. I remember my humble self, Ambassador Michael Omoba, the convener. Thank you.
You said the time for silence is over. Why now? Why it was coming now?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Fact-finding, that we were able to come up with such information, and we felt it's best for us to make this known to the public that this is what we've come up with, and the facts are there and figures. So that's why we're making it public now.
Why did you do it while he was in office?
I just answered, and I said we got the facts. Now it's when we got the facts that will come into the public to make sure we declare what we've gotten as a fact. Thank you.
We shall always fight.